The arena hung in space like a jewel, orbiting the fiery orange star of the distant Coran system. Its walls shimmered with energy fields that glowed in colors no human had names for. Thousands of spectators floated in anti-gravity seats, their eyes glued to the center where cadets from every corner of the galaxy competed. Some were massive, towering creatures with scales and claws. Others had sleek, metallic bodies that reflected the starlight. And somewhere among them, just arriving, was a small human girl. Her name was Lyra. She stepped through the gateway, her boots clicking lightly on the metal floor. Compared to the alien cadets, she looked fragile, almost delicate. Her hair, a messy tangle of dark brown, bounced with every step. Her eyes, however, burned with a quiet determination. She had trained her whole life for this moment. Even though no one in the academy seemed to think a human could truly belong here. Around her, the air buzzed with excitement and chatter in hundreds of languages. Some aliens laughed, pointing at her small frame. "The human thinks she can compete?" One deep-voiced reptilian cadet snorted. His scaled arms flexed, muscles bulging under his armor. Lyra didn't respond. She had learned long ago that words were cheap. Actions were what mattered. At the center of the arena, a match was already underway. A group of cadets, massive and confident, towered over a smaller competitor, a young alien barely bigger than Lyra herself. The bigger cadets moved with precision, striking in waves that left no room for defense. Every swing, every punch, every kick seemed calculated to intimidate and overwhelm. The smaller cadet tried to dodge, twisting and ducking, but the force was too much. The audience roared. Some cheered for the larger cadets, admiring their strength. Others whispered in disbelief at the crushing blows the smaller one took. Lyra's gaze never left the fight. She noticed small details, the timing of swings, the gaps in the attacker's formation, the way the smaller cadet's footwork almost worked if only the person had more experience. She could see patterns, things no one else seemed to notice. Then, with a final, brutal swing, the strongest of the group knocked the small cadet off their feet. They landed on the metal floor with a painful thud. The crowd gasped and then erupted into applause. Lyra felt a knot tighten in her stomach, not from fear, but from a surge of resolve. She would never be that helpless. Not in this arena, not anywhere. The defeated cadet struggled to stand, looking around desperately for help. None came. The alien attackers laughed, tossing their weapons casually. Their pride was clear. They were untouchable. Lyra noticed one of them, a hulking figure with 4 arms, who swung a long energy staff like it weighed nothing. Every motion was precise, every attack designed to dominate. Yet, there was something predictable about it. Lyra's mind worked quickly, analyzing every angle, every possible counter. She was called forward next. A voice, calm and formal, echoed through the arena's speakers. "Next competitor, Lyra of Earth. Enter the arena." The aliens nearby snickered. A few muttered insults in their strange languages, mocking her size. "This one won't last a minute," a winged cadet whispered, folding her thin arms. Lyra ignored them. She stepped forward, taking a deep breath. The arena floor was warm under her boots, and the energy fields hummed softly, almost like the arena itself was alive. Lyra's mind ran through everything she had learned during her training. She remembered the drills in Earth's old combat gyms, the simulations with small weapons, the lessons about human adaptability. Humans weren't the strongest or the fastest species, but we were clever, unpredictable, resourceful. That was her secret. The announcer continued. "Lyra will face the top-ranking cadets in a demonstration match. This is not a test of strength alone. It is a test of skill, courage, and ingenuity." A hush fell over the audience as she approached the center. The top-ranking cadets eyed her with a mixture of amusement and curiosity. The largest of them, the 4-armed alien, stepped forward, swinging his staff lazily. "Are you sure you want to do this, human?" he asked. His voice was deep and rough, almost like stones grinding together. "You'll be crushed." Lyra squared her shoulders. "I'll see about that," she said simply. Her voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. The other cadets laughed, circling her. One, a tall, spindly creature with glowing eyes, moved in first, testing her reflexes with a light swipe. Lyra ducked, barely moving, her instincts guiding her. The alien's hand swished past her ear. The audience murmured, surprised at her quick response. Lyra noticed the gaps immediately. The four-armed cadet swung his staff, assuming she would dodge to the left, but she dropped low, rolling beneath the swing. She sprang up behind him, a flash of movement that was almost too fast to see. The cadet stumbled, surprised. The audience gasped again. Though this was only the beginning, Lyra felt a thrill. She could do this. She could survive. The other cadets tightened their formations, trying to anticipate her moves. But humans were strange. She did not follow expected patterns. She was chaotic but precise, unpredictable but controlled. The match continued, her small frame darting from one opponent to another. She used the arena itself to her advantage, bouncing off walls, ducking under swings, and twisting away from attacks that would have crushed another human. Every small success brought gasps and whispers from the crowd. The larger cadets were growing frustrated. This wasn't supposed to happen. One cadet, a massive reptilian with armored scales, swung a heavy mace in a wide arc, aiming to knock her off balance. Lyra jumped, rolling mid-air, her hand catching the mace and redirecting it into the floor with a sharp metallic clang. Sparks flew. The cadet froze, eyes wide in shock. Even the audience's cheers faltered for a moment, stunned at her audacity. For the first time in the day, the arena felt uncertain. Humans were always underestimated. Their reputation for weakness was widespread across the galaxy. But here, in the vast, glittering arena, one human girl was beginning to prove them wrong. Lyra's mind was already thinking ahead. This was more than a fight. It was a test of strategy. She had to study her opponents, learn their habits, and find the openings no one else could see. The aliens relied on strength, on the obvious advantages of size and power. She would rely on ingenuity, speed, and unpredictability. As the cadets regrouped, readying another coordinated attack, Lyra smiled faintly. The real challenge was just beginning, and for the first time, she felt not fear, but excitement. This was her arena now. The arena buzzed with anticipation. Lyra stood in the center, her small frame almost swallowed by the vast space around her. The alien cadets circled her like predators, their glowing eyes following every twitch of her body. Even the audience seemed to hold its breath. No one had expected the human to dodge and twist as she had, and now curiosity mixed with tension in the air. The largest cadet, the four-armed reptilian who had swung the heavy staff, narrowed his eyes. He flexed his claws and growled low. "You're fast," he said, "but speed won't save you from power." His words were heavy with challenge. Lyra's fingers twitched at her sides. She wasn't afraid. Fear was useful, yes, but it could not guide her now. She needed calm, focus, and observation. "I don't need power," she said softly. "I just need skill." Her words were simple, almost a whisper, but carried enough weight to make the cadet pause. The other cadets laughed, though their voices lacked confidence. A winged alien hovered slightly above the ground, wings shimmering in the arena lights. "Skill?" it scoffed. "We'll see about that." The cadet twirled a glowing blade casually, showing off its reach. Lyra's eyes swept over all of them. She noticed small patterns, movements that repeated, ways each cadet approached their opponents. The winged alien always started with a horizontal swing, then a downward strike. The reptilian's four arms often moved in a predictable sequence: left, right, high, low. Another cadet, a metallic creature with segmented limbs, leaned heavily on brute strength, swinging wildly but missing often. She smiled faintly. Predictable patterns were useful. They could be exploited. "Let the match begin," the announcer boomed. The floor hummed as the arena shifted slightly, energy barriers rising to mark the combat zone. Lyra's heartbeat quickened, not from fear, but from the thrill of challenge. This was her chance to prove humans were more than underestimated. The first attack came swiftly. The metallic cadet lunged, its heavy fists swinging like hammers. Lyra ducked low, rolling forward under the blow, and used the momentum to push off the floor, springing behind him. She tapped the cadet lightly on the back, a small strike that threw him off balance. It wasn't a knockout, but it was enough to break his rhythm. The audience cheered, startled by her daring move. The winged alien swooped down, blade flashing in the arena light. Lyra twisted sideways, narrowly avoiding the strike. She grabbed a loose metal rod from the floor and used it to parry another attack. The cadet froze, unprepared for this strange improvisational weapon. Lyra's movements were unpredictable, flowing like water. One moment she was low, ducking under attacks. The next, she leaped high, twisting mid-air to land behind another opponent. The four-armed reptilian growled in frustration. He moved faster, swinging all four arms in rapid succession, trying to corner her. But Lyra was quicker. She ducked under one arm, rolled away from another, and in a single fluid motion, redirected a swing toward an empty part of the arena. The massive staff clanged against the metal floor, sending sparks into the air. The audience gasped. Lyra's strategy became clear. She wasn't relying on brute force. She was reading movements, predicting attacks, and using the environment. Every swing the aliens made, every lunge, every thrust, was an opportunity if she could react fast enough, and she could. The aliens regrouped, forming a tight formation. They realized they needed coordination if they wanted to stop her. But coordination had its own problems. Once one made a wrong move, the whole line could be exploited. Lyra's eyes flicked between them. A small grin appeared. She darted forward, a blur in the arena lights. One cadet swung, she ducked. Another lunged, she twisted mid-air, landing behind him. Then, with a sudden push, she tripped the metallic cadet, who stumbled into the winged alien, sending both crashing to the floor. The audience erupted into cheers and shocked gasps. The four-armed reptilian roared. "Enough!" He lunged at her directly, swinging all four arms in a crushing arc. Lyra leapt aside, rolling across the floor, and used his momentum to twist him slightly off balance. She had no intention of striking him directly. Her goal was disruption, confusion, chaos. He stumbled, hissing in frustration. For a moment, the arena was silent. Everyone stared at the tiny human, darting between giants with impossible speed. Whispers floated through the audience. How can one human do this? Lyra didn't answer. Her focus never wavered. She moved like a living shadow, every action precise yet fluid. Another cadet tried a new attack, swinging a whip-like weapon in a wide circle. Lyra timed her jump perfectly, flipping over the attack and landing behind him. She tapped his armor lightly with a swift kick, enough to stagger him. The other cadets were beginning to panic. They had never faced an opponent who could read their attacks so well, anticipate every move, and exploit even the smallest error. Humans were supposed to be weak, small, fragile. And yet, this one human girl was rewriting everything they thought they knew. The announcer's voice boomed again. "Remarkable! Lyra of Earth is defying expectations!" The crowd roared, some cheering for her, some still unsure how to react. Lyra barely noticed. She was already planning her next moves, analyzing each opponent's style. One cadet, a tall armored figure with glowing eyes, lunged with a heavy blade. Lyra dodged sideways, grabbing a loose piece of the arena floor as a shield. The blade struck metal instead of flesh, ringing loudly. Lyra twisted, using the cadet's momentum to push him slightly off balance. He stumbled, and the audience gasped again. The four-armed reptilian tried to coordinate with the others, swinging and striking in unison. Lyra ducked, rolled, and darted between them, disrupting their formation. Her small size was an advantage. They couldn't hit what they couldn't predict. Every move was a blur, every dodge a lesson in human ingenuity. Minutes passed, though it felt like seconds. Sweat ran down her forehead and her muscles ached, but she didn't slow. The cadets were beginning to tire, frustrated by this human who refused to be cornered or beaten. Lyra paused for a moment, breathing heavily. She realized something important. This wasn't just a fight. It was a demonstration. Humans had always been underestimated. She could show them what cleverness, agility, and quick thinking could achieve. Strength was not the only weapon. The largest cadet, still furious, swung his staff again. Lyra dodged, rolling under the arc, and used her momentum to trip another cadet. Chaos erupted in the arena. Cadets crashed into each other, their attacks failing because Lyra moved like a ghost among them. The audience went wild. Some cheered. Some shouted in disbelief. Lyra felt a thrill run through her. She was proving something, not just to the aliens, but to herself. Humans were underestimated, yes, but underestimated didn't mean weak. The cadets tried to recover, but their confidence had been broken. One by one, Lyra continued to dodge, disrupt, and outmaneuver them. It was not brute force that carried her. It was timing, prediction, and adaptability. Every human skill that aliens dismissed as insignificant now shone like a weapon. Finally, the four-armed reptilian roared and stepped back, realizing brute force alone would not win. Lyra stood in the center of the arena, breathing heavily, her eyes bright. She was small, yes, but in this moment she was unstoppable. The announcer's voice boomed once more. Incredible! The human cadet has survived the first challenge against the top-ranking aliens. The crowd erupted. Cheers, gasps, and whistles filled the arena. Lyra's heart raced, not from fear, but from triumph. She had faced impossible odds, had been underestimated, and yet had survived. And she knew this was only the beginning. The real challenge was still ahead.